Hey everybody, today I'm going to give a walkthrough of some of the tools that I've created and just help it make it easier to get started with them. It's not totally self-explanatory. So I'm going to start with kind of the free version that everybody is welcome to use, and then I'll show you the versions that I'm asking for a small one-time fee for. So to start out here, this is the digital SAT resources folder that I've posted before and you can request access to. I will share the link somewhere. First thing that's kind of most clearly useful is the concept worksheets folder. So if we open this up, we've got math and reading and writing. This compressed folder is the same thing, but smaller file sizes. And so if we come in here, these are all of the College Board defined skills across reading and writing. Within each of these categories is worksheets that use the question bank questions. The College Board has an Educator question bank that gives over 2,000 questions that are official questions. However, they also include the questions from the Bluebook practice test. So if a student just goes to that resource and starts doing practice questions, they're going to end up spoiling the 4 Bluebook practice tests, and which are probably the most valuable resources we have available. So these worksheets actually exclude the questions from the practice tests. And so these will be safe for students to use, definitely use these instead of just going straight to the College Board website. So these are kind of direct exports from the College Board. I've added a question code at the top here. So for instance, this is 1.2, so that means difficulty level 1, question number 2. And this corresponds to the spreadsheet that I will open up here. Let's see if I guess I'll just open a new window so that I can keep that. So this SAT answer analysis spreadsheet corresponds to the different skills worksheets that are in this folder here. So command of evidence 1.2 would be on this page. This is the reading and writing tab. You can scroll down to get there, or if you went a little bit quicker, you can do a shortcut to find, which you can see shortcuts popping in the bottom left. This is for a Mac, so it'll be a little different for PC. But then you can just type command of evidence or start typing it and you'll jump down to that section. So command of evidence 1.2, this is where you would put the answer for the student. It'll turn green if it's matching the correct answer, or red if not. And we can double check that the correct answer to command of evidence 1.2 is B. So this is the student sheet that does not have answer key, but then command of evidence 1 key has the answers. So if we go down to 1.2 here, we can see that indeed the correct answer to this question is B. Okay, so level 1, 2, and 3 correspond to the difficulty level, and that corresponds to level 1, 2, and 3 in this spreadsheet. Remove this. And math works the same way, so you can search for the skill and then go to the section. The other thing that is going to be really useful is scoring practice tests or categorizing practice tests. So AT1 stands for Adaptive Test 1. This is some made up data that I forgot to remove, so let me just go ahead and get rid of that. There's a reason I'm resetting this the way that I am, which I'll get to later. So when a student completes a practice test, they're going to get a screen that looks something like this. This is just a screenshot that I found online because I actually haven't taken the tests yet. But basically you'll get the answers down here, and whether they get it correct or not. So the quickest way to get answers into the spreadsheet is first actually to copy over the correct answers. So for the AT1 reading and writing, this is also worth mentioning. Module 1 is the reading and writing module that everyone sees. And then Module 2 and Module 3, Module 2 is the easier second module that a student can see. Module 3 is the harder second module a student can see. So they will only see one of these two. So to start here, we can highlight this whole thing. I'll show you the keyboard shortcut popping up in the bottom left here to select that column. We're going to copy you can either right click or you can do the shortcut. Now if I just paste this in normally, it's going to give me errors. Anytime you see this, just Control Z or undo or Command Z for Macs. But actually what you need to do is do a paste values. So you can do that by right clicking and going to paste special, and then it also tells you the keyboard shortcut there, which I do recommend getting used to because you'll be using it. And so Command Shift V in my case. So this puts all the correct answers in. Then what you would do is you'd have the student who'd be sharing their screen go to their Bluebook answers here. If they click this button right here twice, it'll show up with all of the missed answers at the top for the first module. And so you can have the student read off to you the missed question number as well as the answer they put in, or you can kind of go back and forth between looking at their screen and the spreadsheet, whatever you prefer. But then you'll just change the ones that they missed. Like so. Okay. And you'll do the same thing for the second module, whichever one they get. The best way to determine which module they received is to look at the correct answers in this column of their sheet, of their Bluebook, and compare it to the correct answers of the first few here. So if the first few answers are to their second module is CDB, then you know you're in the second module. If the first few is BAB, then you're in the harder module. So let's say they got the harder module here. Copy these in, again, paste values, and change the ones that they missed. Okay, and one more. And then you'll scroll down here to get to the math section. Same deal. Okay. Let's say they got the easier second module. All right. So that is all you have to do here. Oh, there is one other thing that's not actually showing here. And I'll show this on the kind of paid version, but basically, and I will add this to this version, but basically up here it should say reading and writing, and then a blank cell where you're going to manually enter the score that they got on the reading and writing section, and then the score they got on the math section, and then there'll be an overall column here that calculates the two. So that'll get worked into, that'll also show up in the analysis sheet, which will look a little something like this. I will be adding a little bit more to this free version that specifically focuses on each adaptive test. This is opportunity area analysis sheet. Is basically taking in all of the questions that they've answered from any practice test and any concept worksheet, and showing what percentage of questions they're getting right in each category. So this is not really going to give us exactly what we need for the practice test analysis. I need to create a new sheet that's going to look very similar to this in this free version. I will show you what it looks like in when I kind of go to the paid version, because I do already have it in that worksheet. So yeah, this just gives you a sense of where your student needs more work. So let's see if there's anything else I wanted to mention there. Yeah. So the last thing to mention here before I go over to the other version, one is this LT uniques. So LT stands for linear test. So the College Board released linear paper tests, or in PDF form, in addition to the adaptive tests for students receiving paper-based accommodations. And so there's a handful of questions that show up on the linear tests that do not show up on the adaptive tests. And so these are the question codes for the unique linear questions. So LT1 is the linear test 1, RW is reading and writing, 1 is module 1, question 5, and the linear tests don't have it's not adaptive, so they just have 2 modules per test, per subject. So there's one, reading, there's linear test 1, module 1 here, and then linear test 1, module 2, question 12 through 33 here. So feel free to reach out if any of that does not make sense. So question bank data, just to touch on this briefly, this is where the opportunity area analysis and pivot table comes from. I want you to just want to point out that this cell A1 is an import. So this data is actually coming from a different spreadsheet. And the benefit of this is that anytime I find an error in the data, I can change the master sheet and it'll update everybody's spreadsheet. If you want to come up with your own categories, one that's I can help you with creating the PDFs for those custom categories. So they would no longer, if you came up with your own categories, they would no longer match these worksheets. And so I have a script that can generate these worksheets for you if you have your own categorizations. And with that, you would get your own master data sheet that your other your student sheets would pull into. And one thing I forgot to mention, the idea here is you would have a separate spreadsheet for each student. So you would copy this spreadsheet for each student that you work with, and then that would be, just data for their, questions and answers. So that's one thing here. So basically, if you try to change data in this sheet, you'll see that actually it doesn't let you. It just removes the data, because it's basically saying it's going to overwrite data, and imports won't overwrite data. So we just have to create the space for it there. Practice test data works very similarly, also an import, and this is just the questions that show up on the adaptive tests, as well as the unique linear questions, I believe, are down here too. Yeah, so these are just the unique linear questions. Okay, so that is an intro to everything that is freely available. Another thing that's freely available is these PDFs of the practice tests. So these correspond directly to what the student will see in Bluebook. And So this includes all 3 modules of reading and writing and all 3 modules of math for adaptive test 1. And this actually should be broken down into the specific modules. So we have the math modules 1, 2, and 3, and then the reading and writing 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then the linear test unique questions, PDFs are here, and so the one nice thing about these PDFs is that they're mixing and matching categories, so the student might not know automatically what category they're in, so there's some benefit to that. Okay, and then this, by the way, is the master sheet that the other data is pulling into, and so if I needed to change something for everybody's sheet, I would change it here, and then if you have your own custom data, then you would have your own master sheet. Okay, so from there we're going to shift into the paid version, and has that been updated all the time? Okay, let me close this guy. And so this is a folder for Testology with Mackenzie, if you know Mackenzie. And got a little bit to explain here. These guys are the master data sheets for the ACT worksheets, the spreadsheets, and these are the master data for the SAT. So you'll notice that they're called admin and student. Basically, the first kind of level, that's like I offer this for $75 to basically have a spreadsheet with all the answer key and a spreadsheet for the student that doesn't have the answer key, so that they can put their own answers in and you're not always having to do it for them, especially when you're assigning homework. And so this all is linked together in a way that does not give them access to the admin data. And so that's why there's separate spreadsheets here, basically, for master. So when you go into students, the idea of this is your student folder. You don't have to keep this template folder in this students folder. So if you use Google Drive on a regular basis and you have student folders, you can actually just move this folder into the into your student folder. Now in here, this folder is going to get copied for each student using a script that we will take a look at here momentarily. So you're going to have 2 subfolders within each student folder. One is just for you or just the tutor to have access to, and the other is going to be, first of all, this student folder is going to be renamed with the student name included, so you know who you're looking at. And then this is the folder that you would share with the student. So if you are starting to work with a new student, you'll come into the admin section of the template folder, and we'll come into either one of these. And notice that I've changed the color, so I've basically branded these for Mackenzie. We've got some little extras that I am happy to help with. And so basically we have a script, and this button here will pop up assuming that you have edit access to this spreadsheet. And there's a few categories here, a few options. So SAT and ACT are pretty self-explanatory. And then test prep student is if you have a student who is either taking both tests or isn't sure which test to take yet. And so that'll include everything. So we're going to start just by running this script. Now, the first time that you try to run this, you're going to get this scary message. It's not scary yet, but it's about to be. I don't know if it's going to give me the scary message with this account or not. Let's find out. It is. Okay, Google has not verified the app, so I may try to get verification from Google at some point, but they're saying, hey, you're giving access to Danny Ray Pernick to your Google Drive. And so basically the script that we're running needs that in order to copy the folder. So if you're comfortable with that, you can come down here. Now, one tutor did not love the idea of giving me access to her entire, Google Drive, which is very understandable. The other option here is to have a separate Gmail account that you don't typically use Google Drive for, to actually create the student folders. So if you have a separate Gmail account, then I won't have access to the one that you use all the time. And I don't personally get access to it or something, but the script that is running has access. So if you're comfortable with that, you need to hit the advanced button here, and then you need to go to client student folders unsafe. All right, we allow. And so the first time you do that, it's actually not going to do anything, but now we have access, and so we come back up again and go to SAT student. It's going to ask the student name, so we'll say Jacob Makeup. Run that. So this is currently creating the folder, so it takes a little bit of time. And so while that's running, I'll kind of show you the other sheet that will be added to the free spreadsheet as well. So again, we have we would put in our answers the same way that we did before. Now, I'll point out something else later. I don't want to forget about it, but I won't. Or maybe I will. Oop. Okay. And that didn't work that time, so I'm wearing a different color shirt now. I fixed the issue. I will say, caveat, that the script is a little finicky at times, so the big thing is that you really can't move certain things around too much. So admin folder and student folder need to stay in the template student folder, and the template student folder needs to stay in whatever folder you want your student folders to be created in. So you can change the name of this if you want, the students folder that you would be getting access to, or you could move this into your own students folder. Keep the folder structure the same. And there's certain names that you don't want to mess with. So actually, the word template is a keyword that you don't want to change. The word template gets replaced by the student's name. Everything after the hyphen basically gets replaced by the student's name. Answer analysis is a key, and admin answer analysis is a keyword. So I think answer analysis is a keyword. I don't think admin is a keyword. I like using this because one thing that you'll find is that it's a little tricky sometimes to keep the different spreadsheets straight. So, when you come in here, I like that I can see SAT admin and SAT student right there. I obviously can't see the name of the student, which would be over here. So that's how I decided to kind of handle that, but open to suggestions. Okay, so let's try this again. So again, we go to the admin answer analysis to create a new student. I was putting in data here because I wanted to show you another feature of this spreadsheet, but really you don't want to be putting data into the template folder. So I'm going to show you how to reset this. Any admin sheet, if you have data that you want to remove and you just delete it, the cells are going to turn gray. And this is telling you that these cells are no longer linked to the student sheet. Okay, so if I were to go in and put in, let's go to AT1. If I put answers in here, this is not linked anymore. But if I put them into this module 2, they should show up. And there you go. Okay, so that's the key. That's the whole purpose of this, really, is that a student can put their answers in and without having access to the answer key, and you can see them come in on your spreadsheet. The reason this is necessary is because there's no way in Google Sheets to share some data of one spreadsheet but not other data. So you can't just give access to these tabs to a student but not the data over here. If they have access to one spreadsheet, they have access to the whole spreadsheet. There's ways to hide it. You can hide a sheet, but protecting a sheet doesn't actually prevent them from seeing it. It just prevents them from changing the information. So just a heads up there, and that's kind of why this is necessary. So you see we have to fix this. One thing you can do is just undo with Control-Z or Command-Z on a Mac. The other way is to take one of these other yellow cells and copy this formula, so just a Control-C or a copy, and paste it over here. And you can see it's linked to this, it's still linked to the correct thing. So all the cells in, all these yellow cells in this first section are linked to reading and writing. So all of these, you can copy any of these yellow cells, and then you can drag it down. And you can check, okay, this is linking to 1.18 and linking to there, which is correct. Now, I cannot take one of these cells and bring it down to this because these should be pointing to AT1M, the math section. And so now this one is actually pointing to AT1 reading and writing. So we don't want to do that. So you can just take one of these cells, drag it back up, and it'll copy and it'll be looking at AT1 again. All right. So, little details that take some getting used to, but I've tried to kind of build in errors for when things go awry. So, turning it gray if you weren't supposed to delete that. It's totally fine, by the way, for a student or for you putting answers into a student to just delete this. That's not going to create an issue. They'll just, remove the data from over here. Bloop. So it might take some getting used to, but hopefully it's worth it. Okay, so let's go ahead. I should have probably run this already since it's going to take a minute. Here's our scary message. Okay. And again, we have to rerun it after giving it permission, but it shouldn't ask again for our account on this spreadsheet at least. I think you will have to click that message for each new student that you add, I think. Okay, so let's try Jacob Schmacob again. And while that's running, I'm going to wait. So basically what happens is once we put answers in here, then we're going to get an analysis of AT1. And so these are all the same categories as the opportunity area analysis sheet that I showed you on the free version. And again, these are also going to be on the free version for each practice test. So AT1 is Bluebook test 1, if I haven't mentioned that already. So when this finishes, it should give us a message. You can see that it should be already starting to create the folder here, Jacob Shemeka, but we need to let it run all the way through. Jacob Shemeka created successfully. Thank you for that. And let's go check this out again. So since we only selected SAT, okay, so we have this one folder in here. Another thing is that in your template folder, if you want other drive, if you want to put other files and folders in the student's drive, you can do that. And so you can add things here. For instance, I have a resources folder that I put here because I want students to have the resources folder regardless of whether they choose ACT or SAT. I also have like a tutoring notes spreadsheet that I put in here. Or if you want to have extra stuff for specific students who are taking ACT or SAT, you can put things inside those folders. So inside SAT, I have like a practice exams or practice tests folder and a concepts folder. And so you can put those straight into the template folder and they will automatically get copied with everything else when this gets created. And I apologize if I'm repeating myself, if I forgot what I said yesterday. Anyway, we come in here. Again, this is this should be shared with the student, not this one, okay? This is just for your eyes only because you don't want to give them access to the admin data, the answer key. Some tutors are actually giving them students access to the admin key so that they can see their own score reports and everything. But the idea is for that to be separate. And in here we come in and this is our student. So this is the folder that you would share with the student. Then we open this up, okay? And so this is where the student can put their own answers in. And if everything worked correctly this time, then in the admin sheet for Jacob, we should see their answers. Okay, now you get these NAs and this is expected, okay? You're gonna see this one time for every student that you create. The reason is because we need to link the data and you have to give it permission. So you come all the way over here to the bottom. You can either come to the question bank data or the practice test data sheet and you need to click allow access. This is what's preventing a student from just going to this link and seeing the master data with all of the answers, okay? If I just made it a public sheet, then they could actually follow this link and see it all. So that just clicking authorize this file is all that we need to do in order to kind of prevent that data leak, if you will. And since these are coming from the same spreadsheet, I only have to allow it once on either of these two sheets and the data comes in. Okay, so then usually this has been updating on its own. So it's possible that you want to allow access from question bank data directly so you don't have to do that step. Basically what I had to do here was I selected all of these formulas. I did a Command D, which is like the same as copying down or like dragging this down. So you don't really want to have to drag it down 2,000 rows. So selecting the whole data. So basically if you come to this, you authorize the data and you still see NAs in here. First of all, check that this practice data is coming in correctly. And then on this blue response column, select the whole thing and do Control D on a PC or Command D on a Mac. And I'm going to create another, while I talk about the rest of this, I'm going to create another student just to test if we can fix that. So let's try the same thing just to keep, well, actually let's show you how the test prep student will be different. So let's call this person test prep queen. Okay, so we hit another little snag there. I'm not sure, but let's go look at this guy here. This is our test prep queen. And since this is both this is a test prep folder, so we're going to have both SAT and ACT folders in here. I just use this underscore so that if there's other files here, these are alphabetically on top. So that's why that's there. The underscores are not necessary to make sure the formulas run correctly, but SAT and ACT are important to keep capitalized. Okay, so let's try this again. Let me get rid of Jacob Schmacob just for the sake of not getting completely lost in spreadsheets. And we'll open this, and we'll open our admin file. Okay, so we've got our NAs again. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to try this time going to question bank data, and hopefully these NAs are going to go away automatically if I do it over here. Okay, so I honestly don't know why it did not do that the first time, and then over here, thankfully they're gone here as well. So I guess basically just approve the data from the question bank data sheet. Okay, and then let's come back over here. So a student might do some work on boundaries level 2. You don't have, I guess that's not gonna, it's gonna be wrong, we know. And slowly but surely, it should all populate there. Cool. So we got one right out of 5. That's about right. Sounds about right. So that's that. Notice find to delete from the student answer sheet. Do not want to delete these. So if you do, Control Z or drag down. Okay. So in terms of actually scoring the tests, I guess I showed you guys this part, but I did not show you the actual answer analysis. Don't know if they would qualify for the third in this case, but maybe. Okay. So again, we just we copy in the correct answers, and then, and remember I'm pasting as values again. I'm not just Control V because I'm going to get a bunch of errors. So then I undo, and I copy as, and paste as values. I'll do it this way as well. Command Shift V on Mac. Okay. And then from there, we'll go look at the AT1 analysis. And actually, there's one other thing to do here. So you see that we have at the top, we'll have your logo if you want to have a logo, or just SAT practice test analysis. There's some stuff over here, though, that you can't see yet. But if you actually go up here, this is where you want to kind of manually enter the students' scores based on their practice test and based on what the Bluebook tells you. Okay, so there is no way to calculate these automatically, given that we don't know the scoring algorithm. But this will automatically add them together, and these will automatically show up if the corresponding cells are filled out. Okay, so you can see your categories. Looks like they're doing better on math, so it looks like I kind of screwed up the scores there, but whatever. And so yeah, this is stuff that you can use with students. Now, actually these, let's see. Okay, these percentages currently are just looking at the yeses and the nos. They're not looking at this little hyphen. So this dash means that they did not fill out these questions. And so you want to specifically, this is specifically referring to questions that they did not see because they did not take that module. So there will always be these questions that, these all correspond, the little hyphened answers all correspond to the ones that are not filled out here, okay? If a student omits an answer, you want to make it as a hyphen, okay? Notice they'll turn yellow, indicating that they're omitted, okay? They're still counted as wrong. Now notice, as soon as you have at least one answer that's hyphened like this is showing up as blank, okay? I would use the word omit, but unfortunately we're limited with our pivot table. And you can do alphabetical order for these, either A to Z or Z to A. If I did omit, it would always be between the yes and the no, and I did not want that. So when there are blanks that the student omits like this, then this now actually looks at all three of these and gives you your percentage correct out of all of those in the category, okay? If you don't have them, if a student doesn't have any blanks, and notice if anything else you put in here is going to show up as wrong. So the hyphen is like a special character. Only the hyphen is going to show up as a blank. These obviously are nonsensical answers on the reading and writing, but anyway. So now I have no blanks, and so actually what happens is that the blank column goes away. This is not my choice, it's just how Google Sheets works, okay? So if you're going to give the score report to the student or to the family, you want to, and this hyphen is showing up, you actually want to hide this column. So first of all, I just want to show you here, this 67% is only looking at the percentage of questions that are being shown. Basically, the way this works is that if it's checking the value of this cell here. If this is a dash, it knows to ignore it, basically. If it says blank there, then it does include that column in its calculation. But yeah, so basically this dash section should never be showing if you're gonna share this with a family. So you can always hide this. And hopefully these things should stay, because I've basically, in fact, I wanna make these a little bit wider. So that when I hide this column, you can still see everything. Okay. So if they have blanks, leave that column shown. If they don't have blanks, hide it. And also, this is always hiding a single column here. And so, because if you do have blanks, then we definitely want this hidden. See that we have yes, no, blank, and this dash. And so when students do omit answers, this here is hidden by default. And so you may want to hide one more column if the student didn't have any blanks. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Please do ask questions if anything is not clear. So I think that is about it. I will have to watch the video back and see if I covered everything. Please don't hesitate to reach out and ask any questions that you have. But I've been really, I have a weird joy in making these resources, and so I just really want them to be used and by as many people as possible. That's really what makes me happy. This is kind of just like a bonus on my business. So, I want to share it. So by all means, please do use it. And I know the last thing that I want to share, which is how to actually share this with a family. File, download, PDF. It looks like I've made too many extra columns here, so let me just remove a few down here in this case. Things may change a little bit based on, when you change your margins and stuff, it changes things. Looks like we need just like maybe one more gone. Okay, and so everything's on one nice page. Export. And let's see if we can open it here. And there you go. So yeah, please let me know any questions you have. Happy to help, and have a beautiful day. Bye.